Fallout New Vegas has a faction, the Legion, that cosplays ancient Rome, fighting like our ancestors did. But what if you wanted to go back even further and fling chili poop instead? Yo, Dudettes, this is Ketchu. Here to answer the question, can you beat Fallout New Vegas with only grenades? This story begins like many stories often do, with me getting shot in the head. That guy was way too into it, ruined the occasion for everyone. As Doug Mitchell gave birth to me, I, with an uncreative name, happened upon this world. This tale isn't going to be pretty, just like my face. Main stat tied to explosives is perception, standing on a solid 9. Intelligence and agility 9 as well, because XP and VATS. 9 in luck, because I was feeling like a punk, and rest goes into strength for some extra carry weight. I gave Doug Mitchell the most unhinged answers on the psychology test, refused to comment on the hypotheticals, and was forced to look at the art he had made. The skills ended up being explosives, duh, lockpick, and sneak. Don't put too much thought into my choices, I certainly didn't. And the traits I chose were skilled and wild wasteland. Once again, no plan. After my autopsy was over, I stole everything in sight, had a good sip of porcelain punch, and got a Pip-Boy and a shoot from Doug Mitchell before leaving. Blinded by the incoming adventure, I got assaulted by the malware in my Pip-Boy.
I'm ready to take on the world.
First stop, the general store, to fence Doug Mitchell's possessions.
I didn't think you'd be walking out of that office.
Yeah, well, I didn't think you'd be walking around with your brain.
I made a nifty amount of cash and bought a couple of more dynamites. Before getting serious and setting sail towards the real game out of town, I got the varmint rifle from Sonny so I could sell it to Trudy later, and observed Joe Cobb running away like a little creep. After talking to Ringo, stealing his stuff and returning something I got caught for,
that's mine.
I convinced Sonny Smiles, Rudy, Easy Pete, Doug Mitchell, Chet, and the rest of the idiots to defend their own feeding troughs. Eager to get some easy experience in a carapace package, I went inside the local education center to blow up some giant mantises Bomberman style. Pro tip, don't hug your explosives as they go off. After Doug Mitchell kissed my boo-boos goodbye, I tried sneaking a dynamite into Cobb's pocket to see what would happen. Surprisingly, he passed away.
He got folded like IKEA furniture.
I went through the rest of the town, stealing everything, including but not limited to some kid's BB gun and a teddy bear.
Seeing this rock makes me so happy. Hate those things.
With most of Goodsprings' crap turned to cash and in my pockets, I told Ringo it was time for a scuffle. Outside in the war zone, I turned the gangers into powder in no time at all, and got paid for my good work.
Standing here, among the enemy bits, makes me feel all warm inside. I love being the good guy.
Before leaving Goodsprings, I found one more corpse and added it to my pile of trophies. Easy Pete had an accident related to dynamite. It was the way I imagined he would go. On my way to Primm, I found a direction sign which told me exactly what I wanted to know. All the powder gangers nearby must die. My strategic investment of 3 dynamites yielded excellent returns. The screaming stopped, and I saw a positive growth in my inventory of pocket explosives. Satisfied with the results, I gathered my plushies together for a quick nap. Before reaching the next playground, a few geckos decided the playtime was now. While they tried to make sure I walk away with less balls than I woke up with, I discovered a critical flaw in my build. Melee attackers are tough to deal with without shedding a few pounds myself in the form of limbs. This fact came into play during my next fight in Primm. Some convicts were taking up space between me and the casino, and that's where I managed to blow my own head slightly off my shoulders. Inside the money-wasting venue, when examining the contents of his pants, Johnson Nash took my chunk off my hands and slipped in some blood advice, along with a quest to rescue the deputy. After clearing out every last thing worth taking from the gambling den, I found myself in a chat with Ruby. She insisted I try her poisonous casserole. Had enough of that nonsense. The constant seizures were really starting to grate on my nerves, so I stumbled back outside in search of a bed, to sleep it off like a bad hangover. Here's a little tidbit about me. I'm tighter with caps than a paranoid clam with its shell. I'll go to wildly inconvenient lengths just to save a few caps. Back inside the casino, I tried making Ruby not be a thing anymore, but the other patrons somehow caught wind of my volatile vendetta, sparking a scuffle that didn't end up in my favor. Round 2 was no better. It ended with me getting intimately acquainted with the flaw.
Frick, my revenge will have to wait.
On to the Bison Steve Hotel. Inside, I stealthily, quietly, dispatched the 2 guards stationed near the entrance, and not a soul was the wiser. I engaged in a battle of wits with an easy terminal, which bested me a few times. There's this thing in New Vegas. Apparently you can't skip this beat when you try to cheese rehack your way through. That was fun. My emotions were further elevated upon discovering the nothing that my turbulent terminal wrangling unlocked for me. During a skirmish, a guard pulled off a sleek sliding move before blasting off like Team Racket. After locating Deputy Beagle, I had to deal with the convicts before setting him free, blowing bits of myself off in the process.
Oh no!
The convict leader seemed completely unfazed from taking a dynamite to the knee, trying to handle close combat situations with throwables. Yeah, not my finest moment. And just when I thought things couldn't get worse, the miscreant leader whips out a big gun.
What the?
To add insult to injury, I landed a perfect dynamite toss right between the legs of a convict, resulting in nothing more than visual fireworks. No damage. Go figure. That Royal Rumble taught me a lot. For one, dynamite can hit the ceiling, and tossing a live explosive at my own feet is actually a solid strategy when running away from close quarters fighters. Upon returning to Beagle, I found he had encountered an accident during my earlier skirmish. This is what you call acceptable casualties, right? To ease my conscience, I placed him on a bed and covered him with teddy bears before joining him for a nap. On the second floor, I took the diplomatic approach with the remaining convicts, but in the end, I blew it.
Whoa!
As is customary, I decided to enjoy some porcelain puns from each room I entered, taking breaks from dealing with my blown-up issues. At the end of this crappy rainbow, a part of treasure awaited, making it all worth it.
Wow, this hat is totally my style. Oh my lord. I'm so excited I'm gonna have a sip from the toilet.
Consulting Nash, I learned that another prospecting lawman had fallen into the loving arms of the bad lads at a nearby correctional facility. Escorted by a hail of bullets, I started making my way over. On the way, I gave drop a live chili turd strategy a go again.
It worked.
Sneaking into the facility, I crashed the party I wasn't invited to, bringing down the whole house.
Oops.
After lighting up the mood for everyone, I was once again confronted by my old nemesis, the consequences of my actions.
Oh no. Something is telling me my playstyle isn't suitable for hostage rescue.
I masked it as an alcohol-related expiration. Drinking's bad for you, okay? Returning to Primm, I played with binoculars for the first time ever in this game.
I never knew these existed. They are blowing my mind right now.
After some downtime and a crash, I returned to the casino and reprogrammed the walk-in tin can to serve as the new sheriff.
I'm stalking Ruby right now. She said, as long as you don't have sores in your mouth, the poison casserole is safe to eat. This is the desert. Everyone's mouth is as dry as the bottom of my boot. Of course there's sores.
Following the Nash family into their home like a creep, I finally handed Ruby her last meal.
Holy shit!
Yeah, he doesn't care. Alright, my revenge is complete. Ketchu, away!
On my way to Nipton to bother someone else, I stumbled upon a herd of bighorners. Trying to hunt them with dynamite only made them angry. Thomas and Jacqueline were quarreling over something, so I stepped in to mediate. Jacqueline thanked me for helping solve their issues, but after I slipped her an explosive express one-way ticket straight to her ancestors, things got wild.
Looking at me like that.
She looked quite hard and bothered about what was coming next.
Sure. I'll just be going then.
What the crap is going on?
Close to the next amusement park, some wacko came running straight at me. With my short fuse, I threw a dynamite with quick thinking. Another crisis averted. Inside Nipton General Store, I met Boxcars, who addressed me with the title Grim Reaper.
Flattery will get you nowhere with me.
First, I get my leg smashed.
I didn't say stop.
If you want me dead, just give me 15 medics and I'll OD for you, okay?
You ain't worth that much, sonny.
To put an end to his body mounting days, I gave him the first facelift on the planet. While ransacking through the town, I met the darkest version of Mr. Gutsy yet.
Since you don't seem willing to do the world a favor and kill yourself, I guess I'm gonna have to do it for you.
What the freak?
I've always just skipped through Nipton without checking the houses. After enjoying a quick nap, another loony zoomed into my new lair.
What the freak?
Waking me up from my beauty sleep, I handed him a flash pass to the afterlife. Back outside, Vulpix Inadequate asked for my opinion about the decor and such nonsense. I told him it looked pretty great.
Then I bid you Wale. Until we meet again.
Pretentious prick.
I decided a closed casket was his only option now, and writing his eulogy, I scored me a new hat. After a quick shooting drink from a toilet, I entered the town hall, had my game crash, entered the town hall again, and learned pretty quickly why it was a poor idea. Third time's the charm, right?
Oh, wow.
I needed to get punched 3 times before I learned it's a pretty bad time. On my way to Novac, I sacrificed 2 limbs to summon Explodia, draining the life points of a Viper gunslinger. Her friends kindly escorted me out after that stunt. Despite turning Vulpix and his embarrassment of idiots into something that resembled a sweaty beet salad, the Legion still hadn't learned its lesson and remained neutral to me. It would be awfully mean to take advantage of this kindness. The ground also wasn't having a good time, and a mole rat gave me a drive-by kiss. Stumbling upon the next playing field, Novac, I did what I do best, nosing through people's belongings. I don't get why some folks lock their doors, that just makes me more curious. At this point, I don't even care what it is, I just want it. Up in the dinosaur's mouth, and no, that's not an innuendo, Booger was really happy to see me. After a quick chat, he told me to drag someone in front of the dinosaur while wearing his beret. Jeannie the creep happened to be walking nearby, and she seemed like such a sweet old lady. I told her to follow me because I wanted to show her my dinosaur and what it can do.
Okay, if that's what you think.
Once again, not an innuendo. Such a sick and elaborate prank. I like it. Reporting back to Booger, he took his hat back, but I never agreed to that.
Mine.
I was so excited about my new beret that I celebrated with a drink from the toilet.
Next up, Boulder City.
I took a bit of a detour for reasons unexplored. Some ass had seized my steps before Nelson. Ignoring him, I took a bit of a roundabout way towards the town anyway, looking to take advantage of Legion's kindness and understanding again. They declared war on me instead. Further down the road, some geckos didn't want me feeling lonely, so they accompanied me most of the way. Before the next stop in my quest to drown the world with inconvenience, I got interrupted by a soldier because our eyes locked. That's a binding contract between trainers. Luckily his pals were out of commission, so I got a free pass to challenge the gym leader of Boulder City for that blockhead badge. There was also a hostage situation going on.
Hello.
Negotiation time.
You're that courier Benny wasted back in Goodsprings. You're supposed to be dead.
I got better.
Negotiations were successful. You know how adept I'm with hostage situations.
Oh look, the hostages didn't die this time. Sweet.
Before setting out, I searched through the houses looking for the toilet. No such luck. I also tried to shoot at an NCR memorial to see what would happen. They didn't appreciate it one bit. At a rest stop close to Freeside, the Legion happened, killing all the NPCs on the lot. Fighting them, I landed a sick throw inside a fire barrel and accidentally turned some Brahmin into strips. Running low on explodey things, I took my mountain of caps to somewhere where this situation can be amended. I would tell you more, but this video isn't sponsored. The funny thing is that none of the merchants in New Vegas had any nades. Bumbling around Freeside, I got harassed by the local thugs on multiple happy occasions. Deciding it wasn't worth the gunpowder, I made it everyone else's problem instead. To enter the strip, I had to dodge the intrusive old Ben and flash my cash to the taller doll bouncing the gate. Luckily nobody had boom balls for me earlier, because if I burned through my cash buying them, I wouldn't be getting inside. Straight out of the gate, I got assaulted by the mechanical Lucas Sims. I didn't like it one bit. One reload later, I tried avoiding the pesky bucket of bullets, but it sniped me with conversation from astonishingly far away.
Break.
Invading tops, the doorman wanted to take away my toys. I said no.
What the frick am I watching?
Taking down the chairman was a long and arduous task, but in the end, I had a blast, and the gangsters' limbs and bodies were now in long-distance relationships. Benny, the guy who gave me the skull piercing, was surprised to see me up and kicking a fuss. He made sounds with his mouth, and I spiced up his life as a token of good faith.
Yeah, this is my place now. With this decoration, it became quite homely.
Inside Benny's room, I indulged in some flavor water, had a nap in his bed, and chatted up Yes Man to advance the plot. Outside the crypt, Alleria came over to tell me I could now ally myself with the Legion despite the prior atrocities. I sent a clear reply by removing him from the gene pool. I needed a new hat. In the end, the old creep caught me upon my returning instant transmission to the strip.
Oh.
For my next trick, I sneaked into the Lucky 38, opened up the can of beef jerky, and handed him one of my chili dogs without asking for anything. I love being the good guy. Before I could mess anything up further, I let Jesus Man take the wheel and prepared to introduce myself to the tribes of the Mojave Wasteland. Oh boy, was I ready for politics.
There's a new Scorpion King in town.
I led my babies to Sloan, providing some exercise to the miners. On my way to the boomers, I stopped by Mrs. Hostetler's residence to quench my thirst and to drop a big red cigar as payment. Seeing an angry cow trying to turn me into a hashtag was the highlight of my day.
I can think of several reasons why a cow would be angry at me.
Before meeting with the boomers, George blew up because of the explosive barrage. Yeah, I pulled out the binoculars to see the mortar coming just to make sure I knew what I was dealing with.
I've been waiting a good 5 years for an outsider to come along and visit.
Well, yeah, you don't make it easy, do you?
I was looking to get friendly with the boomers, but just like the name hints, their leader passed away of old age. Natural causes. I did find some sweet armor though.
Yeah!
Next task, shake hands with the Brotherhood. After obtaining the key to the bunker, I interred the 2 fake bunkers before finding the one where my key actually fit. Laying my eyeballs upon them was enough to complete the quest. Making things difficult with the jumpy paranoids in power armor carrying big firepower was past my purview. On my way to greet the next unfortunate group, I came across some flying pain needles. Raining grenades from above, I got the drop on them. Arriving at Red Rocket Canyon and the Longhouse, we got 2 options here. Work with the cons or lay off their leadership. I chose option C and force-fed Hagar the Viking some spicy jalapenos. I was out to make sure everyone's remains would fit in a matchbox, but one of the cons ascended to immortality and refused to die. Honestly, the grenades bug out painfully often.
Fine, whatever, frick this guy.
I got a sweet new hat, left, and closed the door behind me like a gentleman. Near Freeside, I sold the grenade launches and such that I got in a gift basket from the boomers. I contemplated if it would be okay to use them, but decided against it. Let me know if it would have been okay to use them, and I just shot myself in the foot with my choice.
Oh, dang it.
If you're heading over the strip and no one's trying to mug you, ask for your money back. I let my newly upgraded Securitons to deal with it to see how it would go. Mother's work is never done. My next task was to meet the fine folks at Gomorrah. They wanted my weapons at the door. I said,
Catch!
Following that, I went to pay my respects to the Ultra-Luxe with a capital F. It was an impulsive decision.
Blow it out your ass.
They wanted my weapons, and I wanted to send them to meet whatever deity they believed in. Probably Hannibal Lecter. Some folks do take it that far. Deeper into the casino, I ruined a game of musical chairs, which netted me a nice amount of XP. The game was once again not amused, and had me on a timeout in the loading screen until I got bored of waiting. After telling the funky computer screen to ignore all the other tribes, I got the override chip to power up the Dorado power station. Even with Sneak 100, that wasn't happening without some real sub-terra fudge.
Aw, crap baskets.
My plan was to silently take down the NCR trooper posted outside, without much damage to the uniform, then dress up as one to blend in, and strut into the control room like I was supposed to be there. Worked like a charm.
You better get out of here.
Nice, I'm like a master ninja. Whoopah!
Next up, powering up the droids hidden under the Legion stronghold at Fortification Hill. The road there was so perilous. I got the tough guy perk as a gecko flipped my lights off permanently. Thanks to my impeccable pathfinding, I found myself lost somewhere in Fallout New Vegas' equivalent to the glowing sea. In order to get to the Fortification Hill, I needed to slip by Cottonwood Cove, another Legion camp. Sneak being useless once again, I had no choice but to swim over to the raft. As luck would have it, I managed to activate the thing from underneath. The Legion wasn't all too happy to see me. However, impersonation worked again. Until I met the folks inside the weather station. They went ballistic over my presence, and despite my best efforts, refused to die. I died, oh so many times, inside the Securitron vault. I wanted to conserve my nades because merchants sold new ones not very often. If you're ever planning on trying this yourself, don't do it with an endurance of 1. Getting power fisted back into reincarnation wasn't such a good time either. Luckily there's nothing doing chems, dropping chili turds, memorizing the path, and using bangaroos can solve. Watching the explosive being only for show, while running low on boom booms at the same time, was fun. After that, another rousing round of vendors. I bought all the steam packs and nades that I could, which wasn't much, in all honesty, but I wanted this pain to end, so I risked it all for Hoover Dam. Inside the small intestine of Hoover Dam, my first obstacle was to get through some UNCR troopers cosplaying as Brotherhood of Steel. With my demolition expert 3, they didn't chance a stand. After inserting my chip into the gacha machine, I got lost, like really lost, following the faulty quest marker. With the power of Wiki on my side, I found my way back to the intestine and managed to flip the switch to power up the east side. Back outside, I ignored everyone trying to save what little supplies I had and reached the Legate's camp. Past the gate, my explosives were disappointing again, and my strategy to blend in did not work at all. Despite all that, my incendiary grenades got me to the Legate Lanius. Dialogue with him was never an option. I have the charisma of a wetted potato. 2 grenades later, I stood tall as the winner wearing my trophies.
10th door is locked. Oh no.
Surprisingly, Oliver and company delivered the hardest part yet. They killed me faster than I could pull out my grenades. I tried Cat Eye for the first time to see if it would make a difference. It didn't. I got stun locked straight to oblivion many times. The only strategy that worked was to snort all my supply and hide. And I beat Fallout New Vegas with only grenades.
We accomplished a lot together. It was fun. Take care.
And that's it for this time, folks. If there's any closing statement I'd like to leave behind, it's going to be, don't do this with endurance of 1. Oh lord, what a mistake that was. Also, the nades disappointingly bug out way too often. This challenge was quite the pain in the exhaust port. That's how you know it's good if you feel like doing shots of bleach. Do the engagement things to help me out. Tell me in the comments what I could have done better. Or if you have other challenges/games for me to play. Thanks for watching, see you next time, take care now, bye bye then.